playing in Iowa is just more than another road day. It's a tough contest in Kinnick Stadium. How do you prepare your teams for going into that kind of atmosphere mentally?
What's your name?
Jacob Wood.
Hey, Jacob. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I think, obviously the schedule that we play, as much as we can do in practice in terms of crowd noise, as much as close to a live situation as we possibly can. Trying to make sure from a special teams, from an offense, from a defensive standpoint, that our drives don't start at the -1, the -2, and the -1. Like I think the last time we were here, that's not conducive to success. But yeah, just understanding, we play in a lot of really good venues in the Big Ten. That's one of them. Got a ton of respect for that program and your head coach and your defensive coordinator and now your offensive coordinator. So that'll be a challenge, but hopefully we'll get better every single week and put ourselves in the best position to be successful.
Coach, Oregon and Ohio State on the schedule this year, one on the road. I know coaches say all the time the most important game is the next one, but with the way you guys have performed in top 10 matchups over the last 7 years, is there something you feel like needs to click in those games to get away that you feel like hasn't all the time?
No, we got to play well against really, really good teams. That's what it comes down to. There's going to be moments where we're going to have to step up and make great plays. There's moments we're going to have to make great calls. We're going to have to, handle at one of those. We're going to have to handle being on the road and dealing with the attendance in the crowd, and that will be a factor in it as well. We've been one of the most consistent programs in college football over the last 9 years, and specifically over the last 3 years. There's another step to take for us, and we recognize that and embrace it. And the good thing and the exciting thing is we're going to have opportunities to do that this year.
What was your conversation with Drew Allar like to get him to come back for another year of college football?
Yeah, to be honest with you, we went through kind of all the information with Drew and his people, the information that we got, the information that he had. All of it was pretty much saying that he was going to be a first-round draft choice, but he's got an opportunity to be a top 10 pick, if not higher than that. And unfinished business as a team. And I think a lot of our guys that decided to come back, they felt like we had unfinished business as a team and could do some pretty unique things and also help themselves. So it's kind of a win-win situation for everybody. And whenever you can do that, whether it's in football or any other walk of life, I think that's what everybody wants, right? A win-win situation, win for Penn State, win for Penn State football, the Big Ten, and Drew and his family too.
James, earlier is a key.
The expectations for Penn State this year, you mentioned on the stage, the outside expectations, kind of meeting with them locally has always been, but they always say, but James Franklin is 115 against the top 5. What do you feel? What do you think of that?
Yeah, again, kind of like what I just answered, is you get excited about the opportunity. Can't control the past. Excited about the future. I also respect and appreciate that we're one of those programs that they're having that conversation about. Yeah, we're excited about what we're going to be able to do this year and steps that we're going to be able to take. We've had a program that 99% of the programs in the country would die to have and love to have. But there's obviously room for growth.
James Knowles said earlier that there's more energy and this is the best summer that he's seen since he joined the program. How do you think the players have handled the increased expectations and the increased outside noise compared to most years?
Yeah, again, it doesn't feel a whole lot different for me. It doesn't feel a whole lot different for us. I think there's obviously more conversation going on nationally. But the expectations in our Lash football building are always really high. The expectations on our campus, in our community, with our lettermen, with our fans, with our alumni are really high. I think last year's a perfect example of that. We finished essentially a drive away from the national championship game, and people were pissed. Didn't necessarily feel like the type of season that we had. And that comes with being the head football coach at Penn State or being the quarterback at Penn State. You knew that when you took the job. I also recognize that there's been a ton of work that's gone into that. The program was nowhere near that when we took it over. And to me, there's got to be balance with both of those conversations. There's a lot of coaches that I know that get talked about, and when they took over the job, they were ranked number 2 in the country when they took the job. They were ranked number 5 in the country when they took the job. They were ranked number 10 in the country when they took the job. We weren't ranked in the top 25, and as you guys know, there was a lot of things that we had to overcome. So to think that we're back in this position, there's these types of conversations going on, and we've been one of the most consistent programs in the country over the last 9 years. I'm extremely proud and I'm extremely confident. But again, there is complete recognition and embracing what we got to do and where we got to go. And the best part about it, your question, is we're in total control of it, right? If we want the narrative to change, we got an opportunity to change it. We want people to shut up. We can shut them up real easy. So we embrace it all. And again, but there's also balance with me in perspective, because people don't always talk with perspective.
James, how important was it for you to get Jim Knowles, and what kind of impact has he already made, and what impact you expect him to make?
Yeah, obviously, when you have a chance to get a guy who's been a head coach, who's been a high-level defensive coordinator in multiple places, who you can make the argument has had the best defense in college football over the last 2 years, who's just been a part of a national championship, is from Pennsylvania, is from Philadelphia. Obviously, it's a big get, and he's been awesome. He don't say a whole lot, and when he does speak, he speaks quietly. You got to kind of lean in, kind of like the old E.F. Hutton type of deal. He is a little bit of a mad scientist, but I'm excited. I think Penn State was attractive to him. I'm very proud of the fact we've had 4 defensive coordinators. Every single one of them have had a top 10 defense. That's a credit to them, but I think that's also a credit to our program and how we do things. There's a ton of offensive head coaches that they stink on defense and always have, right? So I think that was attractive to Jim. Jim came and visited us, I think, when he was at Duke, been out of practice and saw how we do things. So I think all those things happened. One of the things that not a lot of people are talking about last year is we played the longest season in Penn State history last year, 16 games, won 2 playoff games, and we had 3 new coordinators last year. New offense coordinator, new defense coordinator, new special teams coordinator. That's hard to do. Offense coordinator's back, special teams coordinators are back, and we were able to go out and get arguably the best defense coordinator in college football. I think it's the best combination of personnel that we've had since I've been there in terms of staff and players. So it was a big get. It was a big get. But we're excited about having him.
How have you seen that maybe help and impact Drew, a guy who schemed up defense against him last year? How have you seen that help his progression?
I think it helps all of us, right? Like we do self-scouts all the time. Have the defense analyze the offense analyze the defense, especially when you're buddies. So you're honest, but sometimes you kind of sugarcoat some things. Well, we were able to get his Ohio State game plan and evaluation of us and our personnel that he did before he was in our office and hand it to us. And that was really valuable to be able to go back and watch the game with him and our offensive staff and Drew and all those things. Really valuable, really valuable. But it's like anything else, right? You want feedback, you want to ask, tough questions, then you better be willing to listen and hear and embrace the information that you're getting and understand the value of it. And, we're a program that does that. We're a program that has honest, tough conversations with each other all the time. So, but there's also, again, back to Jim and these conversations, there's also a reason why Jim came. He was attracted to Penn State. So, you know, we're excited about it, and it's been fun so far, but we still got a lot of work to do.
James, yeah, James, Drew pointed out earlier that you guys were right there in the games that you did lose last season, and that there's a lot of experience coming back, and that could be a differentiator for you all this year. Do you feel that way, especially at the quarterback position? We have, you know, by far the most experienced quarterback in the Big Ten, if not the entire country.
Yeah, experience matters, right? Coaches, players, all of them. It matters. And it probably is magnified at that position. You know, he played as a true freshman, backed up an NFL quarterback, started for the next 2 years, got significantly better in every single year, in really every area. Physically, he's down 10 pounds, he's leaner than he's ever been. I saw a video that Brad Maendler posted the other day, had his shirt off. I've never seen Drew with his shirt off. Like, he's feeling good about himself out there. Can make every throw on the field. Is holding himself accountable. Is challenging his teammates. So it's really valuable. And then all the pieces of the puzzle that we got around him, the offensive line, the tight ends. We've had one of the best tight end rooms in America in the last 5 years. Both running backs back. Went out and was aggressive in the transfer portal with wide receivers. On defense, what we're going to go against every single day in practice, all those things. So, yeah, it's experience matters, and experience is really valuable. Those 2 playoff wins, really valuable. When you're talking about a bowl game and they're asking, are we going to Disneyland? No, there's no Disneyland anymore in bowl games, right? It's essentially an away game that has significant impacts.
James, you mentioned Brad. How have you managed to keep that relationship positive? Well, I would imagine there might be situations where coaches might not like to have a quarterback have his own guy working with. How has that worked for you guys with Drew and Drum?
Well, I think number one is transparency. Having open, honest conversations of respect in both directions. I think it's also, fortunately, those guys choosing a quarterback trainer that understands, he wants to understand what we're doing so he can complement it, because he also knows that all those things thrown around out in your underwear or t-shirts and the shorts are nice, but you got to translate it to the field. So he understands all that stuff's great, but it's got to translate to the game and how we operate, and making sure that you know, we're really complementary pieces for each other. He needs us for Drew's success, and there's times in the year he's going to be working with him when we're not around, and we need him. And some guys go train with guys you don't know, and when you're able to have somebody that understands your program and you understand them, and there's good dialogue in both directions, it's really valuable. But it's like any other relationship. It's respect, and it's transparency, and it's trust.
You mentioned the 16-game schedule. What did you learn from that? I mean, to win so deep in a 12 playoff game, and 2 more games are kind of unprecedented. What did you take away from that from a physical standpoint from the guys? Did it change anything as you set up this year?
Yeah, I think it changes how we approached after the season. We had to take some time off, where we probably would have already been in winter workouts by that point. How we practice in terms of reps, especially with our most experienced players. Games, how we rotated players, because I always felt like you needed to have at least 2.5 deep at every position. So if it's D tackle, you got 2 D tackles on the field, you better have 5 that you feel like you can win with, right? I think now you better have a 3 deep at every position, because you're talking about a possible 17-game season. So all these things kind of factor into it. You're up in a game late and it's 21 points you got to lead by, and you normally would go one more drive with the starters and you get them out, because again, you want to be healthy in the fourth quarter, you want to be healthy late in the season, and then not only that, your development of your 2s and 3s have always been important, but it's more important than it's ever been. You know, you think about the reps that we were able to get with Bo Krabula, you know, and some people, I think that's another example of Drew's maturity, right? Like some quarterbacks would have got upset about that, but we played spoke with Eula, significant reps, significant time, so that now, when he had to go in against Wisconsin, or the question, the gentleman is gone, so I won't go there, but the Wisconsin game, Drew gets hurt, now Bo goes in, and he has the confidence to play in that game at a level that we can win, and his teammates have confidence in him as well. So that development of your depth is more important than it's ever been. So you may get guys in a drive earlier at the end of the game than you normally would. It's all those types of things that you need to understand. Now, you may give up a touchdown late in the game that you're not happy about. Your defense coordinator is not happy about. But I would say the argument is those guys playing will pay dividends later in the season by getting them in there.
Do you feel like you have 5 defensive tackles you feel good about going into preseason camp? And if not, what do you have to see from some of those guys, maybe a little bit younger or inexperienced when you get into camp?
Yes, I think we do, but to your point, I think some of it is based on potential, right? Like, obviously, in my mind, you got Zane Duran, who I think is not being talked about enough as one of the best defensive tackles in college football. And then you got Alonzo Ford that a lot of people aren't talking about, and that was a big loss for us last year. So getting him back. And then there's that kind of next group of guys, Xavier Gilliam, who we think has had an unbelievable offseason and we think has a chance to be special. And then you put Wafel in that category and Blanding in that category. That's 5 guys that I think we have a lot of confidence in, but they got to do it on a consistent basis. And then there's some other guys as well that we could see come on during camp, but I don't know enough about them yet to put them in the same category as those guys. Those 5 guys, I think there's a decent amount of confidence in. There's still a number of those guys that still got to prove it. And there's some young guys that we're excited about as well.
James, you mentioned a couple of times about this being the best version, excuse me, our combination of personnel and staff that you have. What about
it's just because you try to stick to the same answer over and over and over again, whether it's different groups.
And I wanted to ask about
That's not what you're asking.
But what version of you is in year 12 now? Is this the best version of you as a coach?
I think so. Experience matters, right? Like, I've been fortunate to coach for 30 years. I'm fortunate to be a head coach for 15 years, 3 of which in the SEC. I think that SEC Big Ten experience that me and Brett Bielema have is really valuable, because a lot of people in Big Ten meetings talk about what it's like in the SEC and they don't know. We're able to bring really good perspective for the other coaches, really good perspective to the athletic directors, really good perspective to the head coach, to the commission. I think that experience is really valuable. Being a Big Ten champion, playing in the Big Ten championship game multiple times, winning 2 playoff games, all these experiences matter. They're helpful, they're valuable in any walk of life. So I'm one of these guys, I'm trying to get better every single day. Every coach and every player in our building should be getting better every single day. I view myself as a lifelong learner. I'm a curious guy, ask a ton of questions. I probably annoy the shit out of Pat Kraft sometimes. But I'm asking a ton of questions. I'm talking to a lot of people. I have an agent who's very well connected, and that's a great resource of information. Athletic directors that I'm friends with, other head coaches that I know will tell me the truth. Assistant coaches that have left here to be head coaches, their resources. Assistant coaches that have gone to be assistant coaches other places, their resources. We're in the information gathering business as much as we possibly can, and with that comes growth, right? So I'm the best version of myself. I'll be a better version next year, but that's my job every single day for myself. That's also my job for the entire organization, to set that example and that standard.
You were part of that 9 overtime game a couple of years ago, and I realize this rules changes every year, and it may sound minor, but given what the stakes could be late in the season, could have playoff stakes, or in the playoff could be enormous stakes. The rules change regarding timeouts in long overtime games. Your thoughts, your reaction to that?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think, what everybody wants is you want to play the game and you want to decide a winner as soon as you possibly can. I think that's what the rule changes were for. It was for that. Player safety, I think, was part of it. As we all know, a lot of times it deals with the TVs, the amount of time the games go, all those things. But I think at the end of the day, play the game, give everybody an equal opportunity to win, and find out who's the winner as soon as you possibly can. So yeah.
Coach, what are three perspectives from the SEC that you laid there?
Yeah, I think obviously when you talk about the passion, in the SEC, the parts of the country where you're not competing with the NFL, you're talking about the relationships with the head coach to the president of the university, the relationships with the head coach to the chair of the board, the relationship with the head coach to the governor of the state. All those things, the commitment to winning at the highest level, and complete buy-in. I think there's a lot of schools and a lot of programs that do this now, but I think the SEC for a long time was a conference that did not try to play games and act like everybody was the same and everybody was equal when they're not. I think it's all those things. So that experience of competing week in and week out, where college football is king and there's very little competition, from the NFL or other sports. Those things are valuable, but I think the Big Ten has been strategic. About some of the decisions that they've made. I think the leadership in terms of athletic directors have played a part in that as well. I think we've been bold and aggressive as a conference. I think those things have helped. And obviously won the last 2 national championships, and that, I think, speaks volumes, right? There's more conversations going on now that are comparing the 2 conferences. There's probably more people that are arguing on behalf of the Big Ten than ever before. So I think all those things are valuable. I think all those things are important. I still think there's some things that we could steal from them, and I know they're stealing ideas from us. I think having the Big Ten media days in Big Ten country is important. The majority of our teams are not on the West Coast. Do we have a West Coast influence now? Do we need to pay respect to those programs? Yes. But I know for Penn State perspective, a lot of our beat writers did not come to this because they couldn't afford to get out. And the majority of our teams are near Chicago, where this used to always be. The majority of our teams are near Indianapolis, where this used to be. And it creates a different environment. I walk around the lobby, I don't see any signage. I don't see anything for the Big Ten. I don't see people getting autographs. I don't see, it's a different vibe and it's a different feeling. I think that other conference, when they have their meetings, there's essentially a press conference every single day at the end of the meetings. It keeps people talking about that conference at a time of the year and makes them relevant. We're not doing that. We need to be talking about the Big Ten and our programs and the things that we have done, and making it as accessible to everybody as we possibly can, and connecting with the fans. And don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I think Vegas is a special place, and I think they run events as well as anybody. But it's a different feeling. It's a different feeling. And I've been at those other places where people are putting up babies for you to autograph and stuff. It's different. So I think there's still some things that we got to be strategic and smart about that are going to put our conference and our schools in the best position on a national level, in my opinion.
Coach, what would you like to see different?
Yeah, I'd like him to take another step, like he has the last 4 years. He's taken a significant step every single year. He'll do that again this year. It's not one specific area; it's a little bit of everything, and it's also guys around him making plays. Tyler Warren made a ton of plays for him last year. Kaytron Allen and Nick Singleton made a ton of plays for him last year. We need more guys making plays for him. I see other quarterbacks getting credit for throwing into double coverage and a receiver jumps up and snags the ball in between two defenders and they're like, great throw, and it really wasn't a great throw, right? He needs more playmaking around him, and that's why we've been aggressive in the offseason, and that'll be an emphasis early in the season and also during training camp.
James, how have you? Running backs, they've been one of the most productive duos in recent college football history, especially for a career. How do they complement each other on the field and off the field?
Well, this is something I don't think enough people are talking about. To me, it's amazing. It blows my mind, but I guess other people aren't as interested in it. Penn State's got an unbelievable history at the running back position. First round draft choices, number 1 picks in the draft. Great players. These guys have shared carries their entire career. And they have a chance at the end of this year to be the number 1 and the number 2 all-time leading rushers in Penn State history. To me, that is a crazy stat of 2 backs that have shared carries. They're going to play behind one of the best offensive lines in college football this year. They both will get the ball in more ways than just being handed off because they can be playmakers in the passing game for us. Nick has been one of the most consistent players in terms of his preparation that I've been around in my career. But one of the things I'm most excited about is Kaytron Allen has never had an off season. He's always had a lingering injury from the season. This is the first off season he's ever had. He's faster, he's stronger, he's more explosive than he's ever been. He's got a chance to put the country on notice. And the combination of them is going to be a problem. And then the things I just got them talking about, the passing game with Drew and the wide receivers, and having more weapons on the field will also help those 2 guys out, right? There's always been a conversation about balance. We've been pretty balanced. I think last year, we were like 57% pass and like 43%, 57% run and like 43% pass, if my math is correct. When you talk about balance, a lot of people think balance means 50-50, and it doesn't. When I was with Ralph Friedgen talked about balance being the ability to run or pass in any given situation in a game. That's balance. Mike Leach talks about balance as making people defend to 53 1/3 and all eligible receivers on the field. So it's not just Tyler Warren that's getting the ball. If you cover Tyler Warren, you cover the tight end, the X can get the ball. You cover the X, the Z can get the ball. You cover the Z, the slot can get the ball. You cover the slot, the 2 running backs can get the ball. So that's also balance, is distributing the ball. And I think those things will make us even more difficult to defend by recruiting and developing ball carriers and ball catchers. And that's going to be a big part of our success this year. It's going to play a big role in our success this year.
James, when you talk about Drew over the course of his career, how have you seen him kind of handle that fishbowl of being the Penn State starting quarterback, going into this year versus a couple years ago? How have you seen him develop and kind of learn how to do that?
Yeah, I think he's done a phenomenal job. We've had a ton of conversations. I think there's probably the most similarities between being a head football coach at Penn State and being the quarterback at Penn State. I think other people think they understand what that's like, but until you're actually in that position, it's different, right? And every year, just like in terms of his fundamentals or his strength or his speed or his fundamentals, he's gotten better in how to handle that responsibility as well. Leadership, all of it. But you guys know specifically the Penn State beat writers, or the guys really on your campuses as well, they're beat writers for other institutions. It's a different experience for these guys. They can't just walk across campus like a normal student. They can't go out you know, and get something to eat or have a sandwich like other people. It's a very different experience, and there comes an adjustment time for that. And just like everything else, he's gotten better at handling that too, and understanding what it means, and you know, maybe being a homebody like me and my wife and staying home more than going out. It's all those things and decisions that you make, you know, when you're the quarterback.
James, how different is from high school recruiting from a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Is there a change, a rule, something you would like to see implemented that would make things clearer for you, for your staff, for the kids you guys are recruiting?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a rule, it's all of them, right? There hasn't been a whole lot of clarity. Like, you know, the goalpost keeps moving. You think, okay, we're going to make this decision and it's going to impact these other areas. It doesn't. That's the problem, is we don't really know what it's going to look like. We don't really know how it's going to play out. We're told that these things are going to happen, and those things don't necessarily come to fruition. But it's interesting. Everybody's approaching these things differently, right? You better be bold and aggressive, or you're going to be left behind. And let's be honest, everybody is in a different situation, and some are in better positions than others. I kind of watch some of the press conferences, not only in our conference but others, and everybody's talking about, you know, transactional versus transformational, and I think a lot of the guys that are talking about having a transformational experience in relationship, I think there's a portion of those guys that are being honest, and then there's guys that are talking about being transformational because they can't be transactional. They don't have the ability to do it. Right, and then you got guys talking about being transformational, and everybody's looking at them saying, "Are you kidding me? You're running a total transactional program, and everybody knows it." So it is a very different college football, and there are challenges that come with it. But the reality is, you better embrace what it is, and you better be bold and aggressive and moving, and that's college football, and that's any other industry. When the rules change, you change with them, you change fast, and you don't rationalize, and you get people on board with what it looks like.
You talk a lot about going up levels when it comes to Drew, when it comes to offense, defense, whatever, year over year. When it comes to special teams, how did you evaluate that group in 2024, and where do you think it could maybe take a step further for you guys this year?
Yeah, I love the question, and no one ever wants to talk about special teams. We got all of our guys back. We got our snapper back. We got our kickoff specialist guy back. We got our field goal guy back. We have our punt returner back. We have our punter back. There's a ton of value in that. No one's talking about it. It's the first question I've got. There's a ton of value in that. Having Justin Lustig back, who I think is arguably the best special teams coordinator in the country, him in year 2, how much further we are in year 2. I thought last year, laying the foundation for how we want to do things, I thought he did a phenomenal job. The culture, the standards, the expectations, he did a phenomenal job. I thought last year we did a really good job of playing sound on special teams. You can make the argument in the Minnesota game, maybe that's a game that we won. You tip your hat to special teams, but we also, and there's value in this, we didn't lose games because of special teams, right? I think we're in a position now in year 2 where not only can we not lose games in special teams, but we got a chance to win a few more games because of special teams, or have a wider margin of wins because of special teams. I think we got a chance to use special teams and our talents and our structure to make that a differentiator for us this year. I believe that.
James, you mentioned in the past when you took a portal receiver late and kind of lamented that they got there late and weren't able to adjust. What did you learn from that previous experience with Dante Cephas that you can take to Trebor Pena, and kind of how have you adapted adding him late?
Yeah, it's a short period of time, right? The first thing is you better take production. You better take proven production at the college level. I'm talking about for veteran players. Different if you're getting a kid who transferred in as a freshman, as a redshirt freshman after being somewhere else and you recruited him out of high school. That's different. But if you're just going to take a veteran player, he had to have a high level of production. We got 3 guys that have done that. 2 of which were captains at their previous school, which I also think speaks volumes. But then to your point, those guys were able to get here early enough that they were physically able to develop and that they were mentally able to learn the systems. So yeah, ton of value in that. Again, you know, a lot of times the good Lord don't give you everything. You're still going to take a guy and he may have to get to campus late, and it typically is never like a perfect or ideal situation. You got to pick and choose what is most important to you. But we were fortunate this year, we were able to get 3 guys on campus as early as possible and really get them ingrained into our program as soon as possible, building that chemistry with the quarterbacks, not only out on the field throwing, but Drew's had a ton of meetings with the receivers this summer as well, so really valuable.
James, what's your preference on a tougher out-of-conference schedule, and do you think there's a possibility of Pat Narduzzi getting his wish?
Yeah, I love out-of-conference scheduling discussions. I'd be all about a discussion about Pitt. We have played Pitt non-conference, we played West Virginia non-conference, we played Auburn non-conference, and had success in all of them. The good thing is we all have the ability to build our programs the way we see best. Coach has the ability to build his program how he thinks best, and we have the ability to do that at Penn State as well. The thing that I struggle with is the same thing I've been talking about for a long time, and this doesn't change. Everybody has to play the same number of conference games. Like, this ain't that hard, right? Everybody should be playing 8, or everybody should be playing 9. I was in that other conference when the whole discussion about going to 9 games was voted on. Everybody should either play a conference championship game or everybody shouldn't play conference championship. Everybody should be in a conference. I said that last year in a press conference before playing Notre Dame, and everybody thought I was slighting Notre Dame. I've been saying that for 10 years. If I didn't say it in that moment when I was asked the question, I'd be a hypocrite. Like, I'm going to say it now because I've been saying it the whole time. And that's not a knock, but you're asking a group of people to get into a room and decide the best 12 or 16 teams in college football, and you're not comparing apples to apples. The other thing is when you try to compare a non-conference schedule from a conference that plays 8 compared to a conference that plays 9, it's going to look different. We already have another power conference team on our schedule. They're required to play another power conference. They have to because they only play 8 games. We traditionally have never played FCS teams. Other conferences were playing FCS. But then you get these media members that we know are not true national media members. They're homers to certain conferences. We have them in the Big Ten. Other people have them as well. And then they get on and pound the table about people's schedules. You're not comparing the same things. It's not going to look the same. We're already playing 9 conference games. Where does it make sense? If you look, when the Big Ten first went to 9 games, you could make the argument, maybe the worst decision the Big Ten has ever made. Just mathematically, we were going to have more losses. We were going to beat each other up. Over the last 2 years, we've been more strategic about that. It's worked out pretty well. So there's an easy solution to this. Everybody play the same number of games. Everybody play a conference championship. And then everything else will take care of itself. We were sold in the Big Ten all those years when we went to 9 games that strength of schedule was going to determine the teams that got into the 4-team playoffs. That never played out to be the case. It never played out to be the case. Scheduling non-conference late games in the year, which sometimes can almost be like a bye week late in the season. All these things are strategies that you have to decide what your institution, your program in the best position to be successful. The good thing is the way it's set up right now, we all have the choice to do that. And all the criticisms that come in either direction, they're great for conversations and they're great for people getting angry and upset. But I'm not angry. I'm excited and happy about our schedule and the opportunities that we have.
When you have one of the top environments in the sport, and it's already designated as whiteout night game against sport, talk about opportunities for you. What does that game present by way of an opportunity, not just on the field, but for crews, for fans in general, where so many go back to that moment against Michigan, Obama going to the timeout, where it's one of the most iconic moments in the last 10 years.
Yes, sir.
So what does that opportunity present on it?
Yeah, I mean, you look at our recruiting classes, you can count all the way back how many guys were, when I got the job, how many guys were at that overtime, 4 overtime, I think it was, whiteout game against Michigan. How many guys on my roster were at that game when I got the job? Same thing for us, the Michigan game, you talk about timeout to start the game. I can go on and on. It's a special deal. If somebody here has not been to a Penn State whiteout, it's something you should do. And I'm not saying that as the biased head coach of Penn State. It's cool, right? I've been a coach in the NFL. I've coached in every major conference there is. There's very little like it. You know, Urban Meyer's got pretty good perspective, and he says LSU night game and Penn State whiteout, 2 best environments in all of college football. So it is special. I'm under the belief that every one of our games should be a night whiteout game. They're not going to go for that. The administration's not going to go for that. It's probably
Notre Dame on every season.
Yeah, it's probably not the right thing to do, but it's special. It is awesome. If you're a fan of college football, you got to come see the whiteout. It's a cool thing. It's a tremendous experience. It's one of the unique things in college football. There's a ton of those examples across the country, right? And this is one of them. So it's a tremendous opportunity for our team, our current team, but it's also a tremendous opportunity for the future of our program because we'll have a ton of big-time recruits there as well, and a ton of media members watching from a distance. We'll have a ton of recruits watching from a distance, and it's a tremendous opportunity for really both.
The last 2 teams that won the national championship, you look at them, they had a lot of seniors who came back. You guys had a lot of seniors that came back to go to the NFL. How much did you guys kind of draw inspiration from what those teams were able to do on Friday?
Yeah, I kind of talk about it a little bit like college basketball. You think about like when the one and dones were kind of happening and going on and first started, and there was a ton of teams having a bunch of success by just being old basketball teams that were making late runs into the tournament. I think there's a lot of that in college football now. I think a lot of people can be upset or have questions or concerns about NIL and those types of things, but I know for the retention of players, I think it's an extremely positive thing. There was guys that were leaving college to go to the NFL, and they shouldn't have. But based on their situation, their family situation, or whatever it was, they hadn't gotten their degrees yet. They were going to be 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round draft choices, and they came out early because they just could not turn that opportunity to make that type of money down for their family. So when it can become a win-win situation where they can come back and finish their degrees or get a master's degree like Dawkins, have a chance to win at the very, very highest level, and got a chance to increase their draft stock, it's hard to argue. It's a win-win for everybody. It's a win for the kids, it's a win for the institution, it's a win for the Big Ten, it's a win for college football. Everybody wins. And then not only that, you're investing in proven commodities in your program that you know a lot about already, right? And part of this recruiting thing is getting a 5-star really valuable, yes, but also eliminating mistakes and bringing the wrong guy into your program is also really valuable. And guys that have been in our programs 3, 4, 5 years that you're able to keep for another year, and everybody benefits from it. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, and that's been a big part of our model. And I think what happens is we got one of them to come back, and then 2 come back, and then start kind of getting some momentum. Guys said, look, we got an opportunity here to do something special as a team, but also to be able to achieve some things as individuals as well. So pretty cool. With team success comes individual recognition. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, James. Thanks.